For more on this, I'm joined now on the line from the Paris suburb of Brice-Rouman by the director of Mami Wata, CJ Obasi, also known as the Fiery One. Thank you very much indeed, CJ, for joining us. We're going to talk obviously about your film, but very briefly, why are you called the Fiery One? You look like a pretty calm guy to me.
Well, hopefully the fiery has to do with the art rather than the personality.
Okay, well, that explains that. So you put all the
Yeah.
fire into your work, which is brilliant. Let me ask you how important it is to you that your movie Mami Wata has become Nigeria's official submission to the 2024 Oscars.
It's super important and super significant to me because I mean I've been in the industry for 10 years, but I can bet you that not many know or have heard of me. Um, and to a large degree, sometimes it feels like, I'm an outlier in the industry. And I've been okay with that for the most part. But I think I've always been the evangelist that, a new kind of cinema, the audience, the Nigerian audience deserves a new kind of cinema, a new kind of expression. And we have filmmakers and we have people who really want to express themselves in new ways. And to have this sort of acknowledgement on this level is a testament to this new kind of cinema wave that is sweeping the country and is, gaining attention, so to speak.
You're certainly at the vanguard of that movement, and if your movie, I mean, if it's based on positive reviews, then your film has that in abundance, and from some of the most respected reviewers in the world, such as the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, RogerEbert.com, which said in its review that Mami Wata casts a spell and the spell persists to the end. I mean, that must make you feel pretty chuffed.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, I still pinch myself every now and then. Um, Pretty much every critic that is, like the top critics have reviewed the film, and not just positively, but like overwhelmingly positively. And this was, a film that that we put everything into, blood, sweat, tears. Just 7 years of my life went into making this film. So, every now and then, um, I just think, okay, it really went this way. Like you mentioned, Roger Ebert, the New Yorker, LA Times, all of these guys really watched the film and overwhelmingly praised the film. And this is certainly something that I feel that will elevate the perception of Nigerian filmmaking as far as just in terms of the global conversation.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, which is why, of course, the Nigerian Selection Committee put it forward. I mean, everybody is just so proud of it. But tell us about the movie and its central plot line. I mean, it's been described as a combination fable and thriller with elements of art house film noir and crime thriller with a sort of swaggering minimalism and brilliant cinematography.
Yeah, I worked with a Brazilian cinematographer, Lily Soares, and we met well, we didn't meet until we actually came to the set to film, but we started talking during lockdown, actually before lockdown, sometime in October, November 2019. And then we pretty much did our entire pre-production in 2019 and 2020, all through the lockdown. But before then, I had started working on the script years before. I actually started working on the script in 2016. So the journey from conception to, I guess, the world premiere in Sundance was a 7-year journey. And through that period was a lot of challenges, as you would imagine. I would like to tell you that, when we started, we had all the support, but that's just not the case, and I would be lying. It was very difficult, especially with the locally in Nigeria, trying to even get people to support the project. There was a lot of superstition around making a film like Mami Wata, from the religious side as well. We had that. And it was just all around hurdles and hurdles throughout this 6, 7 year period till eventually we got the film made. But I always use every opportunity I have to thank the people who went with us on this journey, the cast and the crew, the funders, the team members, every single person who believed, because a lot of them had pushbacks on their own side as well, just in terms of people telling them, why would you want to back a film like this, a black and white film, or a film about Mami Wata, like, why? There's so many other kinds of projects that you could back. Why this particular one? So it was never easy. It was never ever easy. And it's just to see the film go on to achieve all of these things, and it's still achieving things. It almost feels like at this point, every morning there's a new achievement, or a new feather added to the film.
Well, I mean that's the whole point, isn't it? That's the reward for really hard work. But what was the motivation for this movie? I mean, what did you actually set out to achieve with it?
I'm a cinema guy, like by that I mean I'm a student of cinema. I grew up wanting to make films my entire life. And I've always believed that there's value in our storytelling, there's value in our culture, and I've always seen the parallels between our culture, our spirituality, and just an organic way through which to make genre filmmaking through the lens of our culture and through the lens of our spirituality. I've always seen that parallel. Um, for me, also, I've always been of the opinion that, African cinema has come of age to the point where we need to take reins of how we portray ourselves in terms of representation and in terms of perspective. Um, there is a certain kind of perspective that has been dominant, as far as African cinema is concerned, just in terms of how we portray ourselves to the rest of the world, or also just in terms of how we try to make ourselves more acceptable, I guess, to the Western audience. And so for me, Mami Wata was an opportunity to subvert all of those expectations, and to present what could possibly be a new way, of even a new way of looking at ourselves, more importantly, because I always felt that um, filmmakers and storytellers, African filmmakers and storytellers, have a deprogramming that we need to do, on ourselves. And we need to work on ourselves first in order to have the new perspective that we can use to shine um, towards the rest of the world. And with Mami Water, it was certainly an opportunity to do that, an opportunity to play with the aesthetics and with the expectations of what people think Nigerian cinema can be, or what even African cinema can be.
That
And so that was really just the motivation, at least
right.
the seed behind every other thing that later on played out to be the reason to make the film.
I think what really grabs one is the extraordinary meticulousness and the absolute, I mean, attention to detail. And every scene literally leaps out at you. But I'm curious to know, CJ, what the budget for the film was. And I wonder if it's black and white cinematography was used in order to de-emphasize the economy of that budget and to make it less obvious, or was that used to simply highlight a sort of historical perspective, or both?
Funny enough, the black and white is what actually made the budget a little bit higher than what it would have been, because we were going for a specific kind of black and white. And I'm the production designer of the film, and so It's not just, you don't just go, oh, because we're making a black and white film, it doesn't matter, because everything is going to be in black and white. On the contrary, because we were making a black and white film, we had to pay more attention to color and be more intentional, about the, everything really, like the costume, the color palettes, even the texture of the clothing. I remember in the beginning, I would have conversations with my costume designer, Bumi, and we would talk about even the fabric and just the particular kind of style and the color palette that worked, because you had to think about that. You had to think about, for example, would you use blue versus green, or sometimes green and yellow, when you convert them, you have more of a gray, sort of bland looking, monotone look when it's changed to black and white. And so you have to think of all of these things. You have to think of lighting. You have to think of how the facial markings look at night, and how that juxtaposes with the rest of the scenery, be it on a night scene in the bushes, whatever. You have to be intentional about every single thing. And so that in itself affects the budget, upwards. It's people, shouldn't think that because it's black and white, it makes it cheaper. Actually, um, it's more expensive, to, especially when it's a specific kind of black and white that you're trying to achieve. And I would say the movie itself is made really for the big screen. Like, every single aspect of the film just leaps and comes alive on the large screen. When you watch it on the big screen, you will understand what I'm saying. The costume, the makeup, even the sound design. We did a 5.1 Dolby sound design. So like, you feel at some point, you feel like you're immersed in the film. You feel like you're immersed in this world. The beach sounds, the ocean waves, everything really is designed and meticulously constructed in such a way that it gives the audience a cinematic experience. And that really is, what I intend to do as a filmmaker, to give the audience or the cinema goer an experience, and not just like just to
So,
watch a
so
movie.
back to that initial question. How much did it cost to make?
It cost about 500,000. I'm half a million, yeah, thereabouts, give or take, the figures. I mean, my producer would give you specific figures, but just about that.
You mean about
I
half a
mean
million?
dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
dollars,
Okay.
dollars.
Well, I mean, by Nigerian standards, that's a fairly expensive movie. Although, I mean, the it's still within a kind of manageable range. But is there anything, CJ, about this film that has disappointed you? I understand it wasn't properly promoted when it first came to Nigeria and to the big screen in September.
Yeah, I mean, that was certainly disappointing. But if I said I didn't expect it, I would be lying. The thing is that you expect the worst and you hope for the best, I guess. This was certainly the case with the cinema run in Nigeria. The movie has shown in so many countries, and it's still showing in so many countries theatrically. And I want to be very specific about that. The theatrical run, or the cinema run, has always been the priority for me, because, like I said, it's a film that really should be seen on a big screen. And prior to the Nigerian release, we've shown it in several countries on a big screen, and they've enjoyed it. And it just never made sense to me that I'm, the movie is getting all this international attention, and it's just not shown in Nigeria. And so we approached it from that point of view, that we really want the film to be shown theatrically in Nigeria, and for Nigerian audiences to enjoy it. I don't want to be one of those filmmakers, just because I'm getting international attention, then suddenly I don't care about Nigeria anymore. I just don't want to be that kind of a filmmaker. I really do want people to watch my films, and to watch it the same way every other country is watching it.
Yeah.
And so that for me was the disappointing part of it. But to say
Well,
that
I
I
mean,
didn't expect it, I would be lying.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could always make another run in the cinema, and I would love to see it at that point. But I want to congratulate you, CJ, on the resounding success, certainly on the international stage, which some would argue is where it matters even more. Of your movie, Mami Wata. And I wish you all the success as it goes to the Oscars. And that is the director of Mami Wata, CJ Obasi, talking to me there from the Paris suburb of Brie-sur-Marne. Thank you very much indeed.